back to that 20 to 30 mile per hour range. And then after Monday, the winds, they're going to stick with us. We heard it in the press conference. We're not out of the woods just yet. These strong, gusty northeasterly winds, they're sticking with us at least through Wednesday. And you can see right now the air quality not the best, especially if you are anywhere around those large fires. We are in the red zone there. Here's another look of that smoke coming to us. I believe this is our Burbank camera. So yeah, you can just see the smoke is in the air. I know the air quality is not good, but the only silver lining here is that we are dealing with these wind speeds right now, really helping those firefighters. Again, Mark and Irene, this is that window for them to get a good grip on that containment.
Yeah, this is their chance, absolutely, with those good conditions so far. We're really hoping that things don't worsen Monday through Wednesday with those higher wind speeds. But Nico, you've been keeping an eye on it, so thank you so much for that update in terms of our conditions. We also want to give you a recap of what we've been learning this morning from the press conference that just happened with the county. What we do know so far is that the Eaton fire, again, that is the Altadena area, that has burned 14,117 acres. It's 15% contained. 7,000 structures have been damaged or destroyed. There are about 2,800 personnel who are working on this, fire crews who are working on this. And again, we are seeing some elevated conditions through Wednesday. Dry air, dry vegetation keeps all of this at higher risk. And there are 57,000 structures that are still threatened by the Eaton fire.
From the very start of all of this, we were discussing the loss of property versus the loss of life, hoping that would not be the case. Pretty soon on, we got word that there were some of those deaths. This morning, some updates from officials from the press conference that was ongoing with LA County officials. 11 deaths confirmed in LA County Sheriff's jurisdiction. That does not include, this is important, this does not include LAPD or Pasadena. So those deaths could be, well, I guess I could tell you, 8 in the Eaton Canyon fire, but I guess that would be associated with the Altadena area, which is covered by the Sheriff's Department, 3 associated with the Palisades fire. So right now we do have 11 confirmed deaths in the Sheriff's jurisdiction. There are currently 13 missing people. Cadaver dogs are out this morning. They are doing grid searches. They are trying to locate potentially those people, potentially those remains. So that effort is ongoing.
And in the meantime, there is that concern from many folks who have been displaced from their homes about the security of their homes. So we do want to mention that 400 National Guard members have been deployed across LA. That's according to the Sheriff Robert Luna, and 22 arrests have been made between the Palisades and the Eaton fire. Those are for people who were not supposed to be in the area. They were arrested for looting, possessions of narcotics, thefts, and also someone who is on active parole. That's 19 people arrested from the Eaton fire and 3 in the Palisades fire. And we do want to mention again that the searches for those missing people, they will only be conducted during daylight for both the cadaver dogs and the systematic grid searches. Yeah,
and there may be some good work going on today in the Altadena and Pasadena area for that search, as there's really no active fire in the neighborhood areas. Over the past 24 hours, there is smoldering, but it is safe enough for those emergency responders to get in and to go through the rubble, go through these properties, see what they can find. We have said before, this is not sensationalizing. It is a war zone in many of those communities that were just leveled by this fire. And you really fear for the Eaton fire because of when it started just after 6 p.m. By the time it got to the neighborhoods of Altadena, it was late in the night. Close to midnight. You wonder if some people, first of all, didn't get the alerts, did not leave, maybe were in their homes as the fire moved through. So certainly concerning. You saw a moment ago as well the information about the arrests that occurred associated with the curfews in the area, a lot of them for the Eaton fire, but 22 arrests that have occurred across LA County, essentially related to looting, people not following the curfews. So those numbers could be updated as the days go on. I mean, this is going to be a long-standing situation for so many communities as the active fire continues.
And again, we are getting closer and closer to hearing what LA City officials have to say about this. They have a press conference that is scheduled for 9. We're waiting for them to start and get ready here at the podium. Mayor Karen Bass is scheduled to speak today, and we're very interested about what she has to say because she was supposed to speak yesterday, did not make that appearance. So many people are curious to know what information she has to say about the Palisades, the Eaton fire, and the other smaller fires that are cropping up across the LA area as well.
Yeah, that news conference, it was set for 9 a.m., so it's now 9:04. You can see that picture. We're there, bottom right corner, the podium. So once that news conference begins, we will bring it to you. In terms of the damage assessment, let's go back to the Eaton fire, referencing that one, again, between Pasadena and Altadena. Aerial imagery showing that approximately 7,081 structures may have been damaged or destroyed. This right here on your screen is a live picture from the Altadena area. You can see it is just devastation, one block after the next. But again, more than 7,000 structures. These are homes, these are businesses, these are far from the mountain. The flames, the wind really pushed the embers into areas that you wouldn't think would burn, which I think caught a lot of people off guard. I can speak personally. I've shared this story already during our coverage. These are places that I go, that I visit with my family. It's our extended community. I'm now aware of at least a half dozen friends that I know that lost their homes, everything. A couple of them I just confirmed this morning. I've been texting with folks and they said, yeah, it's gone, everything. It's heartbreaking to see that impact and to think about the rebuilding, what they have to go through. Thank goodness many of them, those that I know, they're safe. They have their family, they have their pets, and they got out. And that's what matters most.
The good news. And just seeing all these images, it really is just story after story. And it's terrible. It really does break your heart watching all of those visuals.
You could tell a different story every day, and we'd have years of coverage. For 7,000 properties, we could tell a story every day, and we'd have years of coverage.
And you think about what people are going through at this moment in time. Maybe some people are still in a state of shock, not knowing exactly what to do, especially with fire insurance being a major concern, with many people not having it at this point in time. So it's not only frustrating to think about personal safety and evacuating, it's also, okay, what do I do next?
Absolutely.
I don't know what the next step is here. So a lot of folks are going through this and feeling that concern and that frustration and stress.
Absolutely. That's where you lean on your support system and certainly lean on government officials. You go to those evacuation sites for the Eaton fire. That's going to be the Pasadena Convention Center. No doubt information available there to point you in the right direction. This can no doubt be overwhelming. It can be daunting. The folks that I've been speaking with this morning, my friends, essentially relaying those emotions that, yes, that's what it's like. Even us as reporters going through the fire zone, you can't even fully imagine what it's like to be in that position of it being your home. What did you grab? What did you leave? And just rebuilding. What's next? As we look at these images, I want to ask Nico Kazori, I know your mic is up, your concerns about winds increasing. I mean, what do you think? I know that the fire danger, it's going to increase or at least all the way through Wednesday. It's going to hold.
I know that really is a concern, heading into tonight. That's something that I'm sure a lot of people are scared about because right now the wind speeds that we're seeing, it's not going to be even anything close to what we're going to be seeing tonight. And we saw what happened this morning. So of course, it's definitely going to be a concern for a lot of folks. And just, seeing these images, seeing this right now, that plume of smoke, my heart just goes out to all the people, especially in the valley. I'm in the valley and I was so worried just seeing last night what happened, that flare up with the Palisades fire. It just makes you so scared. You're so on edge.
You wonder what that plume can, because it looks ominous. You see the glow. You wonder how close is it? What can the embers do? Absolutely.
Exactly, yeah. And one of the things that I noticed just from all of us, being out in the community, we talked to these people, they lost their homes, a lot of them lost their pets. I think it was Tuesday night or Wednesday, I was out with CAL FIRE. They had a call to go to someone's home, and the homeowner was just begging and pleading with the firefighter, please just save my pets. His home was fine originally in the afternoon. And the firefighter was just like, I'm not sure if I need to go. Your area is fine. Like, you don't go, but I'll go. But I don't think we need to save your pet right now. We're not at that stage. Thank goodness he went. He saved the pets because later that evening, the house burned down.
Oh, my gosh.
So it's just so scary thinking about the impact that it has on the pets as well.
It'd be heartbroken, right?
You really see the videos of people finally getting their cats and their dogs, and they're just in tears. They're on the ground, on their knees, bawling with their pets in their arms. And there's so many stories just like that from all of these fires that are happening across Southern California.
Not only Pasadena Humane, SPCA LA, I've seen messages from them needing the assistance.
Right.
If you're a pet lover, reach out to those organizations because I think they need help, monetary donations. A lot of the wild animals are being evacuated to a facility in Huntington Beach.
Okay, that's good.
And so
I remember the Sylmar fire Tuesday night as well. There were horses just running around in the street. So I really hope they have wrangled them up. We want to just definitely take a look at weather first right now too. Just switching gears, looking at the wind speeds right now because that is a main concern, the wind speeds and the wind directions. Here's a look at the airport, and that's a really scary shot because you can see that Mandeville Canyon smoke from this LAX cam. And let's look at the wind speeds because, yeah, all eyes on the wind speeds. They are light right now, so I've been saying it all morning. This is the time for those firefighters to get a good grip on battling those fires. We're seeing wind speeds right now anywhere. They're kind of calm, but they're starting to pick up by just a couple, right now, anywhere between 7 to 15 miles per hour. A little bit earlier, we were anywhere between 5 to 10. But yeah, you can see we're starting to pick up, but we're not seeing those really gusty winds like we have been seeing these last few days. So this is the window for those firefighters, and this is what we're predicting as we head into the afternoon hours. So this morning into the early afternoon hours, we're going to see those wind speeds remain anywhere in the single digits to the teens. They'll start to pick up as we head into this afternoon. So right now we are okay as far as the firefighters fight to battle those flames. But again, you never know when you can have that flare up, those random hot spots that can create those fires, because these fires basically just have a mind of their own. It's so hard to predict and really hard to forecast these fires, especially when a lot of these erratic fires create kind of their own weather system. They're not going with the wind speed or wind direction. They're just doing their own thing. So what we can predict is just how the winds are going to be looking for the firefighters on the ground and in the air able to fight these fires, at least with those helicopters. So today things are going to be looking fine until this afternoon. So as we head into the afternoon, the winds right now they're looking south to southeasterly, but this afternoon looks like we are going to be seeing those easterly winds start to kick up around 5 or 6 o'clock this afternoon. We can see those wind speeds anywhere between 10 to 20, even 30 miles per hour at times, wind gusts anywhere up to 40 miles per hour. But this isn't over. As we head into tomorrow morning, I stopped at around 2, 3 a.m. tomorrow. You can see the wind speeds, they're still going to be strong. Look at Malibu. Malibu is showing around 40 mile per hour wind gusts overnight. So definitely don't like seeing this on the map. We don't like seeing these colors, but look at the colors start to diminish as we head into Sunday morning. So Sunday mid-morning, things are going to look a lot like what they are looking this morning, back down to the single digits and even some teens too. And that's going to be the case for Sunday. Another good day for those firefighters to really get a handle on these fires. But unfortunately, as we head into Monday, this is our next Santa Ana wind event. It's coming back into our forecast. As of right now, it's not looking like it's going to be a strong Santa Ana wind event, just like what we had. But this Santa Ana wind event, this was something else. This was on the extreme level. Again, those hurricane force winds. We are not expecting to see winds like that as we head into Monday. We are expecting, of course, these gusty, windy conditions Monday through at least Wednesday next week. So with those wind speeds, they can be anywhere between 20 to 40 and 50 plus miles per hour. Air quality, really a concern for a lot of folks. We're in that unhealthy to dangerous zone for anyone that's near the fires, but overall in the moderate zone. So here's another look. I have that Burbank camera up. You can just see that plume of smoke coming to us from Mandeville Canyon. It's not a pretty sight. I wanted to show you guys this graphic really quick because I was talking about how strong the Santa Ana wind speeds are. So this is a look at the graphic showing us anywhere between weak to extreme. Now, when we talk about extreme, we are talking about the Santa Ana wind event that we are experiencing right now. Right now, of course, the winds have calmed down, but what we saw on Tuesday, that happens once every decade or so. So that is not common, and that was extreme. We were talking about those hurricane force winds. This upcoming Santa Ana wind event, we're looking at moderate to strong conditions, anywhere between 20 to 40 to gusts up to 60 miles per hour. So it still doesn't sound good, but it sounds a lot better than those extreme conditions. So definitely keeping our eye on the wind speeds, the wind direction, Mark and Irene. But the good news is on the horizon, it looks like we do have a slight chance of even having some showers in our forecast. So I know I'm looking forward to that. A lot of folks are looking forward to that slight little bit of relief that we have light at the end of the tunnel right there.
Yeah, we're really hoping that we can rely on that little glimmer of hope.
Yeah.
Niku, thank you. We are still looking at, on the left side of your screen, what the view is like from LAX. You can see that massive plume of smoke just blanketing the LA landscape there. Very tough to see. So it's affecting so much of the LA County, not just these direct burn areas. We do want to go now to our reporter on the ground, Zach Fuentes from our sister station in San Francisco. You have been monitoring this section of Mandeville Canyon, massive plume of smoke. And you've been watching all these residents work there outside of the perimeter. They're not allowed to go back to their homes, and there has just been some frustration really building here.
That is right. They thought curfew was going to end at 6, and so there are so many cars lined up here right now thinking that they could get in, but they're being told to wait because, of course, we know it is dangerous. So that's leading to some frustration, but definitely, you know, law enforcement is well-intentioned here. The only people that they've been letting in were people who needed medication. And so some people have been. I just want to show you, though, on Mandeville Canyon Road right now, just speaking to what I was talking about earlier, that CAL FIRE, this has been the road, obviously, they're just going up and down. Of course, not just CAL FIRE, but the many departments and agencies that have been coming in to help fight this. And, you know, earlier we also see the National Guard here in the shot, too. We just saw what appeared to have been a shift change with them, bringing in a huge bus to take the people who had been here working throughout this area and to change them out for some other National Guard officers here. So, again, this is a pretty hard perimeter here for the people who are waiting to come in, but it is for a good reason, because if you look up over to the left, there's that shot of the smoke that you've been seeing throughout our coverage right now. And as we've been standing here watching it, you just see it getting a little bigger, a little bit darker, too. It's just grown in the, couple of hours now that we've been in this particular spot. A lot of people, though, just waiting for answers, waiting for that moment when they can get into their home. Right there. I know I'm going to send it back to you guys.
Yeah, thank you. That news conference, I apologize, Zach. The news conference is now beginning with LA Mayor Karen Bass. Let's listen in. She is at the podium. I see LAPD Chief.
Everybody in place?
Also,
good morning, everyone. Let me thank you all this morning. I want to especially thank our first responders, community members, leaders, everybody, as we continue to go through this crisis, this emergency. Here with us today, Fire Chief Kristen Crowley, Police Chief Jim McDonnell, FEMA Regional Administrator Bob Fenton, District Director Julie Klaus of the Small Business Administration, and for all Angelenos, we are hurting, grief, still in shock and angry, and I am too, the devastation that our city has faced. But in spite of the grief, in spite of the anger, in spite of the shock, we have got to stay focused until this time passes, until the fires are out. Now, we need to stay focused, but I will say that when the fires are out, make no mistake, we will have a full accounting of what worked and especially what did not. And I know that this is a top priority of the people that are here behind me and the firefighters and the first responders that are on the front line. There is nothing that I will not do for the city where I was born and raised. And I know that that goes for all of us. So let me be clear about something. The fire chief and I are focused on fighting these fires and saving lives, and any differences that we might have will be worked out in private. But right now, our first and most important obligation to Angelenos is to get through this crisis. When the fire is out, there will be time for us to evaluate, but at the same time, we also must begin the recovery effort, and there'll be more to come from that in the next few days. So you saw last night that the fires intensified. The Palisades fire expanded, leading to additional evacuations in Encino and parts of Brentwood. But despite the flare-up, relentless air and ground assaults has led to increased containment of the fire. Emergency shelter is open at the Lanark Regional Recreational Center in Canoga Park. We are updating on lacity.gov with information about assistance and up-to-date evacuations. The Hearst fire is now 76% contained, and the Sunset fire is almost 100% contained. FEMA teams are on the ground providing in-person support, helping Angelenos apply for disaster relief at the Westwood Recreation Center and Ritchie Valens Park. The Small Business Administration is now offering home disaster loans, business disaster loans, and economic injury disaster loans, which can be applied for at lending, SBA.gov. Let me repeat that, lending, SBA.gov. And the National Guard is here too, helping relieve our firefighters and secure the perimeter of our evacuation zones, aiding our Los Angeles police officers in having zero tolerance for crime. And let me just say that again, zero tolerance for crime. And so that means if you are bold enough that you are going to go into a fire area and attempt to break in homes or do looting of any type, you will be arrested, you will be prosecuted to the full extent of the law. In the grief, in the anger, in the pain that we are going through, the idea that there would be predators out there that would try to take advantage of this situation will not be tolerated. I want the people of Los Angeles to know that your emergency departments are working as hard and as fast as they can for you. We are a city, Los Angeles. We have been through tragedies before. I remember 1992, the civil unrest, when we had to rebuild the city. I remember 1994, the big earthquake. This tragic event will bring us together. We will stay together. We will get through the fires, and then we will rebuild our city, and we will rebuild our city even better. With that, let me introduce our fire chief, Kristen Crowley.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here. As Mayor Bass has stated, she and I met yesterday to discuss our shared priorities. Number one, first and foremost, we are both focused on our urgent needs to mitigate these devastating wildfires. Our top priority remains saving lives and protecting property. Second, we are committed to working together on community recovery and rebuilding efforts. 3, we are focused on building an LAFD that reflects the needs of the community we serve and which will prepare us for the many challenges that are ahead of all of us. I will now provide an update on the current fires. Palisades fire. Yesterday evening, there was a significant flare-up on the northeastern boundary of the fire, threatening Mandeville and Sullivan Canyon areas. We immediately redeployed resources from the San Fernando Valley to begin evacuation and extinguishment efforts with a relentless air attack utilizing all available aircraft in the area. I can now report that we have increased the fire's containment from 8% to 11% with 3,712 personnel that are assigned to this incident. The fire is now at 22,660 acres with all evacuation orders and warnings. They all remain in place. The Hearst fire, 799 acres, 76% contained. 2 structures were damaged. 305 personnel are assigned to that incident. Sunset fire, halted, and I want to focus on that word, halted and stopped at 42 acres, 100% contained due to the due diligence of our first responders that are out there doing their work. Currently in a mop-up and patrol status and no active threat to the public. Now looking forward, over the next few days and into the next week, we will be facing another critical weather event. I want to assure the residents within our incredible city of Los Angeles that Mayor Bass, Chief McDonald, and I are in lockstep together, and that we will utilize every single resource at our disposal to ensure public safety and that we holistically protect Angelenos. Thank you, everyone. And next, I have the honor to introduce Police Chief McDonald.
Thank you, Chief, very much. As we navigate this challenging time, our primary focus remains the safety and security of our community. We're committed to protecting lives, safeguarding property, and maintaining order in the areas affected by the fires. Determining the cause of these fires is critical, and to that end, Mayor Bass, Chief Crowley, and I are announcing, in conjunction with our partner agencies, the creation of the Los Angeles Regional Wildfire Investigative Task Force. This task force is made up of local, state, and federal partners designed to investigate the cause of these fires and to see if there's any connection between them. The task force will be made up of, or is made up of, investigators from the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, CAL FIRE, the Los Angeles Fire Department Arson Counterterrorism Section, Los Angeles County Fire Department Arson, Los Angeles Police Department Major Crimes Division, and the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department Arson and Explosives. Just announced this morning, or decided this morning, that the ATF will take over as lead agency on that. They have tremendous resources and expertise and can bring in resources from across the country to do their investigation. So we're very thankful for them and their resources. The LAPD remains on tactical alert, and we have dedicated resources to ensure the safety of our law enforcement and city, state, and federal public safety partners. LAPD officers are actively patrolling these areas around the clock. These efforts include enhanced visibility in evacuation zones and neighborhoods where homes and businesses are vacant. We're deploying marked and unmarked vehicles as well as foot patrols to ensure a strong presence and swift response to any issues that arise. LAPD currently has deployed to these areas with support from Port Police, who provided personnel, and the National Guard, who've provided 40 personnel at various posts throughout the Palisades, and we're truly grateful for their support also. We've continued to respond to radio calls with reports of looting, although I'm happy to share that so far none have been substantiated in that fashion. Let me be clear on this, and the mayor just talked about it. We do have a zero-tolerance policy for anybody attempting to exploit this crisis. Looting and other illegal activities will not be tolerated, and we've taken significant steps to prevent such behavior. Additional patrols are actively monitoring evacuated areas, and we've implemented a system of surveillance and rapid response. LAPD is enforcing a curfew in Los Angeles City areas where mandatory evacuations are still in place. The curfew will run from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. Last night, we arrested a total of 5 people for crimes involving curfew violation in the Palisades burn area. I want to remind everybody that unless you are public safety personnel or another type of disaster worker, you have no reason to be at these locations. And if we see you in those areas, you will be subject to arrest. Any person who refuses or willfully neglects to obey the curfew order in effect in any evacuation order zone or evacuation warning zone within the City of Los Angeles will be physically booked for a violation of California Government Code Section 8665. A violation of curfew order is a misdemeanor punishable by a fine and potentially imprisonment for up to 6 months, or both. The countywide curfew order is enforceable in the City of Los Angeles by LAPD officers. Enforcing a curfew is an important tool that will help keep the burn areas and evacuated property secure, keeping looters out. This effort also helps protect public safety personnel who are operating in darkness and in very difficult circumstances. I want to reassure everybody that your safety and security of your property remains our top priority. We understand the stress and uncertainty you are feeling, and we're doing everything in our power to protect what matters to you. I urge you to continue following safety guidelines issued by our emergency management partners and abide by any security checks and screenings. These measures are in place to protect lives and to allow first responders to do their jobs more effectively. In closing, I want to thank our officers who continue to work extended hours in a challenging environment, the National Guard, and all of our partners, particularly our fire partners, for their tireless efforts in responding to this crisis. I also want to express my gratitude to our community for your resilience and your cooperation. We will continue to provide updates as the situation develops and remain steadfast in our mission to protect and serve. Thank you, and please stay safe. Now my honor to introduce FEMA Regional Administrator Bob Fenton.
Thank you, Chief.
Thanks, Bob.
Yep, thanks. Well, let me start out by saying our hearts go out to everyone affected by the wildfires. And as our administrator yesterday said, we're committed to be here to help the community recover as long as it takes. One of the things that's important to us is having a strong relationship with not only the mayor, all communities in the state, and delivering assistance to those communities that have been affected, and we'll continue to make sure that we're here to do that. In addition to providing support on the response side, one of the areas that we're focusing now on our priority is to help those that have been affected by this event. And one of the ways we do that is through our individual assistance program. I want to start off with how to apply to that program. So the easiest way is to go to the website to disasterassistance.gov and apply there. You can also download the FEMA app and use that to apply. Or you can phone our 1-800-621-3362 number to apply for assistance. We've already had over 16,000 applications as of this morning, and we'll continue to take registrations into our system, and we'll be probably reaching out to many of those individuals. Those who have that are insured, I urge you to go ahead and call your insurance company first, as you'll need that information through the registration process with FEMA as you go through that application process. One of the positive things that have happened in some of the changes of our legislation is we can help those that are underinsured, which I suspect will be a significant need here from these fires. FEMA is starting to expedite serious needs assistance. It's a one-time payment that helps survivors with costs associated to disaster-related needs, such as whether it's water, food, infant formula, things you had to purchase as you evacuated, and that's a one-time payment. Other forms of assistance include displacement assistance to help with hotel costs, minimal repairs to your house, other needs assistance, costs for if you have medical bills from this event, the unfortunate funeral costs that will come for some. If you lost your car in this event, you could go ahead and put that in for assistance from FEMA. And then ultimately, as we've seen the great devastation and loss of housing, temporary housing, whether it be through our rental assistance programs or other forms of temporary housing, that we'll work with the city, the county on how to provide those in the best way that meets the needs of the community here. So I'm working closely with the state and county and the city to ensure that we bring not only the full weight of the federal government, but working with community partners to make sure that we bring the resources that are needed to help recover. We are sending staff out to the field to help individuals register for our program. We'll start with going to the shelters and some of the other places, and we'll expand out and help individuals that need help registering. However, I urge you to go to the 3 locations I gave you, register online or register through the 1-800 number, as it's better to register before coming in and asking for extra technical assistance. Ultimately, we'll work with the county and the city to set up local assistance centers where we'll have in-processing centers to help with your application. Lastly, I just want to continue to reiterate, we are here for the long term. We're here to financially support the response costs and to help individuals recover from the fire, and have the full weight of the federal government behind me to support any needs that the state or the county or the city have in response to these fires. Thank you.
Next is SBA District Director Julie Quellis.
Thank you, Mayor Bass. Thank you to all of our government officials, FEMA, and especially our first responders. Thank you so much for everything you are doing for the community. For those that are affected by these fires, my heart is with you. My team and I live here. We know what the challenges are ahead, and we're here to help you through that recovery process. SBA's disaster loan programs are open. They've been fully activated, and they are open, and people can apply today. The applications are available for homeowners, for renters, for businesses of all sizes, and for private nonprofits here in LA County. A quick overview of the programs for you. The Disaster Home Loan Program is loans to renters or homeowners to repair or replace disaster damaged real estate and personal property, and this includes automobiles. Loan maximums are $500,000 for real estate and $100,000 for personal property, and this is for uninsured or otherwise non-compensated losses. Business physical disaster loans are also available for businesses of all sizes to repair or replace their disaster damaged property, including the real estate, inventory, supplies, machinery, and equipment. Businesses of all sizes and nonprofit organizations are eligible to apply, and the loan maximums are $2 million. Economic injury disaster loans are available to small businesses and nonprofits as a way to provide working capital to help them meet their ordinary and necessary obligations that otherwise could have been met but for this fire. Loan maximums for this program are $2 million. Interest rates are extremely low, under 4%, and in some cases 2.56% for homeowners and renters. We have a 12-month deferment on interest and payments, and we are in the process of setting up some centers, but everyone is absolutely eligible to apply online today. SBA.gov/disaster will take you right to the info page and application. Also, SBA.gov, we have banners on our homepage to direct you right to these resources as well. And you may also reach out through our customer assistance line at email box, at disastercustomerservice@sba.gov. Again, disastercustomerservice@sba.gov. And we also have our cadre of business advisors through small business development centers, women business centers.
Okay, you have been listening live here to a press conference with LA City officials, LA Mayor Karen Bass, LA Fire Chief Kristen Crowley, and LAPD Chief Jim McDonnell, among others, including FEMA and the SBA Small Business Association administrator as well. A lot of information there coming in. I do want to point out before we go to Air 7, the latest from Mayor Karen Bass and Kristen Crowley on the apparent dispute that was rumored between the two. Mayor Bass saying any differences that we have will be worked out in private, saying they are focused on fighting these fires. Kristen Crowley, the fire chief, saying, quote, "We are in lockstep together." That is a story we will be following. In the meantime, Gabe Santos live at Air 7 HD. Gabe?
Okay. Hey, Mark, we are just getting back up in Air 7 HD, and we're getting a look now at, well, first things first, the DC-3 tanker has arrived here, and it made some amazing drops on the area, on the really the southern flank of, or the northern flank, excuse me, of this fire. As you look at a little bit of a run there that is that the fire's making uphill towards a site there. And the problem now we're looking at is that the fire has kind of established itself on the other side of Mandeville Canyon. So the concern now will be properties in the Mountain Gate community. If we widen out the shot, you can see the Mountain Gate Country Club, just to give you an idea of what we're looking at. That road there going away from us, that's Mountain Gate Drive. And then you have Canyonback Road there that runs left to right. Those homes should already have been evacuated. Those are in a mandatory evacuation area, and that is the concern right now. Now that DC-10, we did see it make a very long drop. I would say, you know, almost a quarter-mile long fire retardant drop on the right side, which would be the north flank of this fire, and that was just amazing to see. It's amazing to see an aircraft of that size be flying over an urban area like this, and there's some of that that pink coloration on the ground. That's what we just saw happen from that DC-10 tanker. And we have another aircraft now coming into frame. That's another smaller form tanker. So still amazing to have. I believe that's maybe the C-130. I'll try and get you a correction on that. It is. It's the C-130 Hercules, and they can also drop fire retardant. So they are, you know, still here to continue this massive air assault. You see that fire retardant drop right there, and they're trying to drop some of that fire retardant along the power lines, even though some of those power lines a little further west appear to have, further south as well, appear to be also inundated by fire at this time, so that's going to be a concern. But you do have some movement here on this fire, even though we have winds that aren't that strong. This is a terrain-driven fire right now. It is using the hills of the Santa Monica Mountains, running up when it can, and then creeping downhill when it can. So on these downhill slopes, like you're seeing on the flames that are closest to us, that's where fire crews can really hammer in and make their effort really work. But as soon as the fire gets to an uphill slope, that's when it can really run away from fire crews, and that's when it becomes very concerning. If you're on the Encino side in the southern San Fernando Valley, that's still a concern. Don't let your guard down because, you know, the smoke is moving away from you. That's still something to be concerned about, something to keep an eye on. But right now, because we do have the flow of air and the terrain moving this fire a little bit more towards Brentwood and a little more towards the Mountain Gate community, that's the #1 concern right now. So you see fire crews working on that end, and you see these aerial assets dropping fire retardant, and the helicopter crews dropping water on this fire on this side. This flag, look at that. Marcel giving us a close-up shot on that. That's giving you an idea of the wind on the surface. So even though at altitude, we're dealing with a little bit of gusty conditions, winds maybe are a little bit stronger than they were yesterday. So that is going to become an issue. We know as day turns to night, we're going to have a little bit of that offshore flow again. And you saw that wind showing you that there is gusty conditions at the surface. Where we are at about 7,500 feet, winds aren't too strong up here, so we're okay at this altitude. But down there at the surface, they are dealing with some gusty conditions now, as we saw evident from that flag, and that's going to be something that fire crews are going to continue to deal with as the day continues, and we're going to keep an eye on it. The fire now moving, encroaching through the Santa Monica Mountains towards the Mountain Gate community and a little bit towards Brentwood. We're keeping an eye on Brentwood, very close eye right now.
Now, that being said, as you referenced to kind of what we're looking at, our locator at the top of the screen mentions Mandeville Canyon, but Mountain Gate is kind of beyond that, correct?
I didn't hear that question. I think you were talking about if the fire is still in the Mountain Gate community?
Well, correct. I mean, differentiating between Mandeville Canyon and Mountain Gate. Those are, correct me if I'm wrong, those are two different areas, right? If it's encroaching on Mountain Gate, that is kind of beyond Mandeville Canyon. Is that correct? What do you know?
Correct, Mark. The fire, in parts, it has crossed through Mandeville Canyon. So we're unable to see see Mandeville Canyon from this perspective. So my hope is that it crossed in an area maybe a little bit further north where there are no homes, but I'm also looking at a satellite view right now. We're not able to superimpose that on our shot like we normally can right this second, but I have a satellite view that I'm looking at as well. And I do see a lot of homes in that area of Mandeville Canyon, so my hope is that fire crews, we know they have structure protection in Mandeville Canyon. We know that they're working hard to protect property in that area. We know that that area should have already been evacuated, so people in Mandeville Canyon should already be gone. But we will work to get exact information on what exactly is happening right now in Mandeville Canyon. But you are correct, the fire has progressed past Mandeville Canyon, and it is now on the east slope of Mandeville Canyon, moving down the hillside towards the Mountain Gate Country Club right now, and that's where you see these active flames.
Yeah, very concerning, and you can see a lot of spot fires that we have been watching and monitoring throughout the morning. The concern of those embers really spreading just to isolated areas and then starting up there and then getting on the backside of these communities can be very troubling indeed. So, Gabe, thank you for giving us an update on what's happening in that Mountain Gate community. We'll check back in just a little bit. In the meantime, we do want to go to our KFSN anchor, Vanessa Vasconcelos, and she is live in Encino, where we have been watching some of the evacuations take place. Vanessa?
Yes, we have, and so have the residents. I want to give you an idea of where we are, and apologies if there is any delay. There is cell service that is spotty out here, but we are on Mulholland Drive, just west of Sepulveda, right here on Encino Hills Drive. So to give you an idea of where we are, this is typically a scenic outlook. This is where we are just below Canyon Back Road, which is where people are typically hiking in the area. But just beyond this ridge right here, that is where we are seeing conditions fluctuate. You know, we've seen that smoke billowing in the sky, but as we saw those aerial attacks, as we're seeing several strike teams move toward this area, they are focused on structure protection, and I want to show you just why. So if you look just beyond the ridge right here, we have several homes. Thankfully, what we have not seen are residents that are scrambling to get out. People really heeded those warnings last night when it came to those mandatory evacuation orders that came out. But again, as I mentioned, there are still several crews that are moving throughout the area. We are seeing some CAL FIRE crews right now make their way beyond the ridge. So they have been doing structure protection just beyond this ridge. They're trying to make sure that flames don't come over to protect these homes and to protect the people of this region. But again, a lot of the people that we spoke with, that some didn't want to speak on camera, but they said that, you know, on Tuesday, they never knew that it would get toward Encino. They didn't think it would be getting to this region. So a very somber and sobering moment for many of them. Other people we were seeing watch from a distance saying, you know, we're going to get out of the area. We're not in an evacuation order zone, but we never thought it would get this bad. You just never know. I'll send it back to you in studio.
Okay, Vanessa, appreciate it. Hang tight there. We appreciate you joining our coverage live there from the fire zone. We want to go back to Eyewitness News reporter Josh Haskell. He's on the phone right now. He has extensive knowledge of the Mandeville Canyon area. Of course, he has family from the Palisades area with his parents, and he has been monitoring these conditions this morning. Josh, as we go to you, I also know you have extensive knowledge of the Mayor Karen Bass and Kristen Crowley relationship, which they did just address during that press conference. And Fire Chief Crowley saying, quote, "We are in lockstep together." What do you make of those comments made today?
I think what I make of those comments is that Los Angeles is in an emergency right now, and that they want to show the public and show everyone that lives in this city, in this region, that they're going to put their differences aside in this moment, and they're going to focus on saving lives, saving property. But those differences...
To pop in as soon as I can, because I got the PIO of CAL FIRE here, Chris Harvey. All right, so Chris, so many eyeballs on Mandeville Canyon, this entire area. So Where are we status-wise, almost up to the second, and how we're doing here in terms of the firefighting efforts?
Yeah, so the main two concerns right now are all the topography and the weather, right? Okay. This is a very steep area, the terrain, not a lot of access in some of these areas to wheeled vehicles. Right. So we've got hand crews, we've got hose lays out into some of these steeper areas, and then the weather. You know, we had a little bit of a break in the wind last night and early this morning, but as it's getting warmer this morning, the winds are picking up. That obviously hampers firefighting activity, and then this afternoon and this evening, we're even forecasted for some higher winds.
Yeah, I know the higher winds are the problem. We were talking earlier, and I said, look, I know you don't have a crystal ball, and I acknowledge that. And these whole fighting efforts, that's part of it. What's next? But any kind of prognostication at all in terms of where you're seeing things to potentially go?
Well, I can say this. Driving through this neighborhood this morning, we've got crews positioned throughout this neighborhood. We do have a good water supply. As you can see, we've got charged hose on the ground. Right. This particular house we are now has a swimming pool with a pump in it. A lot of these homes with swimming pools, crews can access water from the pools. And so we've got, hand crews, like I said, on the ground. We have fire engines, and then we've got this, heavy air attack that's also helping us out here.
Yeah, one last question. Damien, if you could just shoot down to this neighborhood. So we're seeing a lot of structures, a lot of homes. What is and as we look up, we can see, is that, this is for my information, are those hills burned already, for lack of a better way of saying it? And is that a good thing or bad thing? And I see a lot of lush greenery coming up to the back of those homes. I'm imagining that is somewhat of a challenge because we're seeing a lot of fire mitigation going on with a lot of the crews.
Yeah, so you can see specifically where we're talking about now, that farther hillside has been burned, and then you can see that stripe of retardant right down the middle of the valley there, where they've dropped heavy retardant drops down there, and then the fire on this side of the ridge that's burning up the ridge towards us here. So again, crews positioned throughout this neighborhood. I do know that we have a good water supply. I've seen a lot of engines hooked to hydrants with full hoses, and so I feel like we've got a pretty good presence in this neighborhood, prepared for whatever the weather may bring us, the main thing. All
right, Chris, thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it. All right, guys, so, one of the things that I'll show you that I find it interesting that Chris talked about, Damien, if you have to stand there, you're mobile? Okay, so a lot of these homes, we are in the backyard of a home, and as Chris just talked about,
it was threatening and continues to threaten homes there. There's two side streets actually off of Mandeville at the end that I'm concerned about, Sherry Lane as well, and then Sky Valley Road. But I also wanted to point out that American flag that you were seeing, and it looked like a possible structure, not a home, on fire. There's a lot of those Nike missile sites, the old missile sites up in the hills of the Santa Monica Mountains that are really used now by the FAA, by SoCal Edison, different gas companies, and I know for utility purposes. And I've hiked up in that area extensively, and there's a lot of valuable infrastructure there, and those are facilities that they use routinely. And I believe on the right-hand side of your screen right now, what we're seeing is not necessarily a home, but some buildings that are either used by the gas company or by Southern California Edison. I remember hiking once, and they were working on a pipeline or a gas line from the valley to the Brentwood area, and there were trailers up there and a lot of different machinery reinforcing that. There's obviously the Sullivan Canyon Fire Road off Queens Ferry that also goes to the valley, which I know has been really valuable in this firefight because they just widened it after it was destroyed in one of the recent rainstorms. So a lot of infrastructure up there, but what you're seeing right now is sort of what they call upper Mandeville Canyon. And that is an area I've been very concerned about just because that road is so long. It opens up, you see those homes. And actually some of the other homes we've been seeing have been the Encino Hills. So although there is not a road that connects Brentwood to Encino and you take the 405 freeway, if you go to the end of Mandeville, you're really not that far from Encino. And I think that's an important thing to keep in mind right now.
Absolutely. That is a fantastic insight. There's that American flag that you were referencing, and you can see the wind on the ground whipping up there. And the trailer right there, not sure if that's a campsite or, a trailer associated with another property up there, but that is just honestly feet from the flames. Josh, thank you for your insight. Gabe Santos still live here in Air 7. Gabe, what are you seeing?
Yeah, Mark, we're still keeping a close eye on this scene right here. We're going to try and figure out exactly what this property is. As Josh Haskell was saying, it appears to be one of those outposts that might have to do with maintenance or other public works or things of that sort. You would hope that whoever's in that trailer has long since gone. I would definitely imagine that is the case. One thing I want to clarify about the canyons here, there are a lot of canyons in this area. Mandeville Canyon is one of them. Sullivan Canyon is the next canyon further west. We're kind of dealing with being at a high altitude because air traffic control is keeping us at 7,000 feet. So the canyons are starting to blend together. So forgive me for that. But what we're able to confirm now is that the fire is still on the west side of Mandeville Canyon. It has not crossed Mandeville Canyon. It's established in Sullivan Canyon, which is kind of a firefighter term for there's a lot of fire activity in Sullivan Canyon, and that's a concern right now. That's what fire crews are hopefully going to work on doing something about, whether it be with water drops or crews on the ground or things of that nature. Again, looking at this dramatic shot of this outpost here with this American flag blown around in a few different directions. There's a lot of fire overall activity. It appears to be kind of from the north to the southwest. So definitely that Santa Ana flow we're seeing continuing right now. But again, the fire has not crossed Mandeville Canyon Road, so we could say that at this point. The next thing after Mandeville Canyon is that Mountain Geek community, so that's still definitely a concern, but we do know that the fire is still on the west side of Mandeville Canyon Road right now, so I wanted to clarify that for you guys. Mark?
Gabe, this really does speak to how these firefighters are having to deal with multiple spots in terms of this fire. It could be on the backside of the community, on the side of the community. They're just having to tackle so many different spots and little spot fires that are cropping up as well. In terms of the resources that we have out there, we have about 100 fire engines in Mandeville Canyon, 6 helicopters. It's been phenomenal watching them draw water from that reservoir close by and make those drops and really taking those flames out on the fire line. So that's been phenomenal to see as those flames had really been creeping up close to those homes. I believe it was in Sullivan Canyon. So really good to see. We are very curious to know what structure this is that we are zooming in and focusing in on with this trailer here, if it's a utility facility or what exactly it is. So we will find that out for you and bring you the latest in terms of that. In the meantime, we do want to go to our reporter on the ground, Eyewitness News reporter Monica Dianda. She is live in Mandeville Canyon. Monica, what are you seeing?
Yeah, Irene, unfortunately, the flames here have been making a run. I want you to take a look at this, the hillside here. You can see the flames there. They've been creeping closer and closer to this neighborhood here on the right, and you may be able to see that red fire engine there. And we've seen firefighters get off here, and it seems like they're taking a defensive position, just getting ready in case those flames inch closer toward these homes. Again, this is Canyon Back Road, about half a mile away from the Mountain Gate Country Club, if you're familiar with this area. We've been here since 5 o'clock this morning, and I got to tell you, really the fire has started to move downhill, creeping closer toward these homes. After this live shot, we're going to drive around and see just how close it is because of how windy these roads are around here. We want to see just how close the smoke is, in fact, to at least these homes here on the corner that we're seeing. So as Josh mentioned, there's a lot of homes in this area, and the topography, that's one of the things that firefighters have told us this morning, makes it difficult to fight the fire that they're seeing here in this area. We know that it was overnight when a lot of the progress was made over here. Unfortunately, a lot of the flames moved this way. About 1,000 acres in growth overall here in the Mandeville Canyon area. We know there's 100 engines here for direct suppression efforts, and we've seen a lot of aerial support as well, a lot of water drops. But really in the last 15, 20 minutes, we haven't seen any, but I'm sure hopefully they're, going to be coming again soon, because you can see that smoke now really close to these homes, which isn't something that we saw around 5, 6, 7 o'clock this morning. Really, it was after 7 a.m. that this fire really started to creep its way closer to these homes, and that is definitely a concern. About a few minutes ago, I saw a man drive away, and I'm sure he was evacuating because I could see his car from where I'm standing filled with a whole bunch of items. So that just goes to show that people are really taking this seriously, and they're getting more concerned as they see that smoke creep up closer toward their homes. Right now we're seeing some air support up above, and again, just be ready to go just in case you have to. This is Canyon Back Road right near the Mountain Gate Country Club. So this is the situation out here. We're seeing firefighters. We see they're moving a hose, taking a defensive position just in case they have to get in a position where they're ready to defend these homes and do what they can to save them. But yeah, we'll continue to monitor the situation and keep you guys updated with the latest. For now, I'll send it back to you guys in the studio.
Okay, Monica, thank you. You've been on the front lines here for the past week. Appreciate your insight and coverage this morning. Our coverage now continues with ABC News' Jacqueline Lee also covering the fire and joining us this morning with what you are seeing, Jacqueline, right there along the coast.
Hey guys, yes, so of course, you know, Malibu, Pacific Palisades, so famous for the sheer amount of luxury beachfront properties, and as you can see, they are gone. For anyone who has driven through here, you know, this is just mind-boggling to be able to see directly onto the Pacific Ocean instead of looking at these homes. It is devastating. If you can see over here, we have crews here from SoCal Gas. They are cutting the gas lines. As you can obviously tell, the homes are gone. There is nothing left, just a lot of debris. And so we've just been seeing an influx of emergency crews in the last 24, 48 hours as those conditions have, you know, gotten so much better. If you guys remember when these fires first broke out, it was hurricane force winds. The smoke was so thick and blowing everywhere, turning the sky black and gray. But now, as you can see, it has calmed down, even though we are seeing those huge, you know, spot fires and those flare-ups as part of the Palisades fire and other fires throughout the region. I will say, if you take a look this way, you can see there are still homes that are still standing. And that is what is so dynamic about these fires. Sometimes the embers, they just fly based off of where the wind goes. And when they land on a home, that is when they can consume it. But that is also part of the reason why some homes are still standing when you see sheer destruction for other properties. And I spoke with one resident here who has stayed behind to fight the fires to protect his home as well as his neighbor's home. He is certified by the fire department to serve as an emergency responder in case of a disaster. He, you know, pitched in with his neighbors. They bought fire hoses, and so he has been putting out spot fires relentlessly for the past few days. And when I asked him why did he want to stay behind, why didn't he just evacuate with everybody else, he said it's about his community and he cares, and his house is his oasis, you know, and so for him it is worth the risk. When we went to go meet with him, he was in the middle of fighting a flare-up, a spot fire at one of his neighbors' homes. So that just goes to show you there are residents who are still dedicated to trying to prevent any sort of flames from destroying their property. But obviously, as we have repeatedly heard from officials and other residents, these fires can spread so quickly and get so dangerous so fast. Guys.
Jacqueline, before we let you go, I know you've shared before that you're from Southern California, from the Ventura County area. Have you ever witnessed something like this? And within that, covering this specific fire all week, did you ever expect it to explode again today? Did you think this was possible?
You know, it's interesting because I lived up against the Santa Monica mountain range, like literally my backyard was a hillside. And so I know my parents were concerned about fires way back when. It was never like this. And I think what's so stunning about these fires is they are burning so large all over the area. I mean, it's not just like one isolated community. It is felt everywhere, and there's not a single person who isn't impacted by it. I'll say, you know, with my colleagues here at ABC, there are so many employees who lost their homes, were forced to evacuate, or they had family members who lost their homes in one of these fires. And I think, you know, I never imagined that a fire would come so far south, burning all of the homes along the beach. And the only reason why it stopped spreading is because the Pacific Ocean stopped it. I mean, that is just really stunning and really crazy to wrap your head around. When I spoke with that resident who has stayed behind to fight the fires and protect his property, he said he expected it. He's not surprised that it went this far south, but growing up here, I never would have imagined it would have gone this way. Guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Mark and I also have grown up in this area. We have not seen anything as extensive as this in terms of damage. And just to really think about how the fire really burned all the way to the water, like you mentioned, that is just so eerie and so ominous to think about. And it really matches what's behind you, that awful, awful scene.
I remember growing up with these Santa Ana winds, and I was in Orange County, and it certainly sounding like a freight train. I have not heard that kind of noise since Tuesday night.
Yeah.
For me, my experience, the intensity of those winds, which is just so frightening.
It is scary. Jacqueline, thank you so much for your reporting. And right now we do want to turn to Niku Kazori, who has been watching the weather conditions, those wind speeds, how we're looking this morning for that firefight, and what we should expect for the days to come. Niku.
Yeah, Mark and Irene, we were looking at the winds all morning and tracking the wind speeds too. So a little bit earlier this morning, it was interesting because we saw more of a northeasterly pattern than we saw it turn southerly. But right now we're tracking those easterly winds. So the winds kind of just all over, and these fires, they basically have a mind of their own, especially those erratic fires like what we saw in Mandeville Canyon and what we're seeing right now. They basically create their own weather system. So hard to predict what it's going to look like, but I'm so glad to see that things are looking much better there compared to what we looked at about an hour ago. But you can still see the plume of smoke from our LAX camera here. Really scary, and yeah, pretty much just an ominous sight to see. Looking at the 60s right now with those easterly winds, they are calm. They're in that 5 to 10 mile per hour range, but even though they are in that 5 to 10 mile per hour range, look to the left of your screen. That's what these winds, with these light winds, it can create that too. So just one of those things, we are not in the clear just yet, but this is making it a lot easier for those firefighters to be able to battle those flames. We are looking at some wind speeds right now. They've really started to pick up in some spots. So this morning we were looking at those easterly wind speeds anywhere between 5 to 15 miles per hour. Now we're starting to see the winds pick up a little bit earlier than expected. So this is not a good sign. So I really hope those firefighters are able to really get a handle on those flames and those fires, because here's a look at the wind futurecast. You can see as we head into the early afternoon hours, things will start to pick up. Now I stopped the futurecast at around 6 o'clock tonight, 5 or 6 o'clock. That's when the wind speeds, they're going to pretty much just double from what we are seeing right now. We'll be back into that 20 to 30 and sometimes up to 40 mile per hour gust range. And as we head tonight into the overnight hours into Sunday, we really start to see those Santa Ana winds kick right back up. We have those oranges coming back on the map, the reds, the purples. We don't like to see that again. 20 to 40 mile per hour wind speeds with wind gusts up to 50 miles per hour and possibly even stronger than that too. The good news is as we head into Sunday morning, it looks like the winds will start to calm down, getting a little bit closer to what we saw a little bit earlier this morning, back down to the single digits and sometimes the teens too, except for those areas that are very wind prone, of course, like Moore Park, Santa Clarita, Malibu. We have some strong wind speeds tomorrow too. But what we really have our eyes on, the main wind maker after this Santa Ana wind event, is going to be on Monday. So we see another round of those Santa Ana winds coming back into our forecast. This next round of Santa Ana winds, it's looking moderate to strong. The air quality right now is still looking about the exact same as what we were tracking all morning. So it's good that we're not seeing the red zones grow even wider. We're seeing anywhere between moderate air quality to unhealthy for some folks. This is another look coming to us. I believe this is our Burbank camera, also showing us that Mandeville Canyon smoke as well. So seeing it from many of our cameras, and this is also showing us some very light wind speeds, around 2 miles an hour, coming to us from winds. When I say moderate to strong, what we're expecting is wind speeds between 20 to about 60 miles per hour, and this is what's coming up on Monday. What we had this Tuesday was extreme, and I said this earlier, this is not common in southern
Where they're coming from, we see it all the time, but we always try to warn them, like, if you're on your evacuation orders, just grab your stuff. All the stuff can be replaced, but at the same time, we just understand. We get it. We understand the pain that and the stress that they're going through. It's
It's definitely looked like
you.